Welcome back, listeners, to a brand new episode of the New Standard. You are checking out the program on December 8th, 2024. As always, the show is hosted by yours truly, Lance Williams. Please give us a like and a subscribe to the show. Please, we do our best to bring out a program every Sunday post game. Life got in the way, so we're bringing out the show a little bit later today. Hopefully, you can join us. We'll also put out the podcast a little bit later on today. The topics that we discuss post game are always the same. Numbers don't lie. We talk about winners and losers, offensive grades, and holistic thoughts. Big up to Laura Top Life. Big up to you. Big up to Ollie Howard Species 5618. Big up to everybody out there joining the program. Here are my overall thoughts for this game. And we'll talk a little bit more about holistic thoughts. And please smash the like and subscribe button as you come in. Yes, please hit that for your boy. Holla at me. This was a business-like performance. This is why the title of the performance or the title of the show is Businesslike. And Dark Storm, what's up, my boy? Please hit me with a like and subscribe. This was a business-like victory for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This was the type of game in which a Tomlin team in the past may have lost. But this year, this was just businesslike. And everybody in the chat, welcome Dark Storm to the program. Dark Storm 1, Uno, like KRS1. And this was just a business-like performance. Started out a little rocky. Steelers found their footing in the game off of a big turnover from Keanu Benton. And then from that point on, it was just business as usual. Turn the ball over, run the ball okay. Russ managed the game, not turn it over, make some positive plays in the red zone. It was just very efficient and very businesslike. Let's chalk this one up, get our 10th victory, because the stretch of the next 3 games is going to be vicious, as the next 3 opponents are Philadelphia, Baltimore, and Kansas City. The Chiefs, who were dominating the ball game tonight against the San Diego Chargers, scratch that, the LA Chargers, and it is now 13-7 because we know that the Kansas City Chiefs cannot blow anyone out, so it'll probably be close down to the wire. But yes, like Steeler Freak said it, and I think he said it better than me. Another day at the Steeler office with a metal lunch pail. Just absolutely. And for all the youngins listening to this show, the Gen Zs and the Gen Alphas, they don't know about metal lunch pails. I had a Super Friends metal lunch pail with a thermos inside. I used to eat a sandwich, some apple slices, and this was before Capri Suns. Like, we had to put liquid in a thermos and keep it cold all day because there were no Capri Suns at the time. And Dark Storm added something that I left out in talking about the schedule. It's in 11 days. They play 3 games. Like Ollie Howard Species 5618, yes, you had to have the thermos. And in fact, when I was in grammar school, whoever had the best lunch pail was the man. Like, you tried to get a unique lunch pail. Like, you didn't want to have a lunch pail like anybody else's lunch pail. I mean, I bet you lunch pails nowadays have asbestos in them and you can't use them. And we've probably given all of them to third world countries in a way to indoctrinate and or pollute. Let me stop. But yes, Dark Storm is right. And you're checking out the New Standard Businesslike. They got some big games coming up. And Dark Storm said I had a bionic man. Steve Austin, baby. Everybody used to make that sound. And they got a tough road to hoe. And this was one where I thought it was prudent for Mike Tomlin and the staff to let George Pickens sit this one out. And you could see that George Pickens not being in the game early really affected the passing game. They had to get in sync. And Steelers Freak is right. They need to be absolutely in sync and playing their best football. But a lot of that talk is some of my holistic thoughts. And I'm going to say some of that for the end of the program. But the first part of the program is numbers don't lie. And looking at this game, I mean, it was an offensively uneven game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was a business-like performance for Russell Wilson, but it was not his best game by far. But sometimes you have these type of games and you have to manage them in a business-like fashion and play professional quarterback. Don't turn it over. Be patient. Take what the defense gives you. Make the plays when you have an opportunity and win the game. Very business-like, very professional. In the game, Steelers had 267 yards of offense. I mean, that's terrible. That would be terrible in terms of a loss, but in a win, it doesn't seem that bad. And Steelers Freak brought up an interesting point. He said GP knows they can win without him. I'll say this. I'll say it's very good, not necessarily for GP and his humility, George Pickens, to know they can win without him. I think it's good for the football team to show another way and another facet in which they can win. The more ways that you can win, not under perfect circumstances, I think it just illustrates how good of a football team you are. They won a game against a divisional opponent, only getting 267 yards of offense, averaging only 4.3 yards per play and 6.1 in terms of yards per attempt, and they still won the game. They are showing you that they are a good football team because it doesn't have to be perfect for them to win, and it's showing you that they can win a variety of ways. They can win the Tomlin ugly game. They can win the shootout game. They can blow somebody out. They can beat a divisional opponent without their best offensive player. I mean, they're showing multiple facets and different ways to win. You can win some games with special teams, kick 6 field goals. So they have a lot of different trump cards in their hand. Like, you guys know what trump is when you're playing spades or you're playing bidwits. You know, when you have trump, you run the deck, you run in the hand. So they have multiple options to win because honestly, just from, you look at the total game, I mean, this was an offensive stinker in the first quarter. I mean, it was absolutely terrible. I mean, at one point in the game, I think they were 0 for 5 on third downs. I mean, it was terrible. It started off really slowly. They had to find their way. And to be able to do that against a divisional opponent, somebody that knows you very well, is very impressive. They only average, in terms of yards per attempt, 6.1, which is probably Russ's lowest of the year. He's up towards 9 in terms of yards per attempt. But the one thing we still see game in, game out is Russ completes the Russ ball. The Russ ball is the ball he throws that hits the moon and comes down into the hands of a Steeler wide receiver. He hits moon shots every week as if he's throwing passes with a wedge, with a golf wedge, with a 52-degree wedge, and he's hitting it as high as he can be so it hits the sun or the moon and drops down into a Steeler's hand. But where they were bad in terms of, or inconsistent in terms of total yards, particularly early in the game, they were very efficient on third down. 6 of 14 converted, 43% of the third down attempts in the red zone. Still got to get better. 4 red zone trips. You like that aspect of it. If you keep getting in the red zone 4 to 5 times a game, only good things can happen. But they've got to convert a little better. You want to see 3 or 4 instead of 2 or 4. 27 points, outstanding, beats their season average, which is incredibly at 25 points per game. which is the most they've averaged probably in the last 5 years. Again, you're checking out the new standard Businesslike Steelers versus Browns post-game show. Please hit me with the like and subscribe. And this is an interesting stat here. In terms of time of possession, both teams had it the same amount of time, 30 minutes. You never see that in games. And again, the one thing that this team does, they turn people over. Benton's interception was key. They got another interception late. They recovered a botched kickoff, or excuse me, punt. Kadarius Toney botched that. They got that. So they continue to turn people over, and they continue to give this offense more opportunities and more drives to score points. They put the game away. This was a very businesslike performance. This was one of the better performances on the defensive side that they've played in quite some time. They got a lot of pressure on the quarterback. You could see them moving the pocket. In fact, Jameis Winston threw a touchdown pass as a result of him being able to show his mobility in the pocket. That'll be something that they have to watch out for against Jalen Hurts. But I thought they were pushing the pocket. I think they were impacting the pocket and making it very uncomfortable for Jameis Winston in the game. If you look at sacks in the game, they had 3 sacks. That's 7 sacks in the last couple of ball games. They had 6 quarterback hits. TJ Watt was a little quiet in the game, but he had a tackle for loss and a couple of quarterback hits to lead the team. So I think the pressure is starting to get a little better. In terms of yards per play, Cleveland only averaged 4.3, 5.2 in terms of yards per attempt. They were fantastic again against Cleveland. 2 of 13 on third down, 15%. I think in both games, Cleveland only converted two third downs in 26 attempts. Correct me if I'm wrong, listeners. I think Cleveland was 0 of 13 in the first game, but did a great job in converting their fourth downs. But again, they put a stranglehold on Cleveland in terms of third down defense. And we can see, I think Cleveland, Jameis Winston's a solid player, but he doesn't take care of the football. In fact, in the first game, I stand corrected, the Browns were 1 of 10 on third down. So in 2 games, the Browns converted 3 third downs in 23 attempts. That's outstanding. And, hopefully losing that first game against Cleveland, it had to have been, only way they lose that game is if it's in a blizzard. But, hopefully that loss will not come to bite them. And let me jump into another comment from Steelers Freak. He said, number 1 and tied with the bill for turnovers. Yes, they turn everybody over, and they've been doing it all year. And a lot has been said about turnovers, about how there's a lot of variance with turnovers. And I don't disagree per se, but the Steelers are generating turnovers at a rapid rate every week. And so I think that's part of their culture. And it's something that you shouldn't count on, but I think you might be able to count on. And as true as the sun comes up, the Chiefs are about to be in another game. If you're on the chat right now, again, hit us with a like and subscribe. You're checking out the new standard. Who's the 2 seed in the AFC? Now that the Bills have lost, and I think the Steelers and the Bills are tied at 10-3. Who's the 2 seed? I don't know who that is. If you know who the 2 seed is, please let me know. And again, the big thing in this game as well was the turnovers and the missed field goals. The loser for the game for the Browns, of course, is their place kicker. But for the Steelers, in terms of winners and losers, I'm going to go with Keanu Benton. I think Benton is the winner. Great awareness to get that turnover. I think that really changed the game and got the Steelers flowing in a positive direction. In terms of other winners, I mean, I'm not sure. Joey Porter Jr., I think he was only penalized once. If you want to throw him in there as a winner, maybe you can. Because this game was so businesslike and kind of uneven in spots, I'm not sure there were too many winners. This was just a professional win, period. I think Terrell Austin, if you want to throw him in there as a winner, you can. Defense performed very well. This was just a professional win. They went out there and beat a team that they're better than convincingly. Took some time, but they got to it. Offensive line, I think, is the loser of the game. And I'm kind of scratching for it a little bit here. But I think they've got to run the ball better. And we'll see what this offensive line is really about against an outstanding front in Philadelphia. But they've got to run it better to the tune of 35 attempts, 120 yards, only averaging 3.4 a carry. I would have liked to have seen Jaylen Warren get more touches. I thought he had a nice rhythm. I thought they were blocking well for him, and the called runs that they were calling for him, I think they were hitting it a little bit better. I didn't think Najee looked as well that he has in some other games. Steelers Freak disagrees with me. He thinks the O-line was a winner. Again, Freak, if you want to think that they're a winner, I could see how you could think they're a winner. I'm kind of stretching it. I don't think there were a bunch of winners. I don't think there were a bunch of losers in this game. It was just one of them games. I mean, that's just kind of what it was. And I think you're right as well, Freak, that the turnovers are offsetting the lower sacks. But I think, and what happened in this game, I think they gave up their longest passing play, but I think it was like 40 yards. Maybe let me look at the game book and see what the long was. It was a 35-yard touchdown pass. When your longest pass given up after 13 games is 35 yards, you could see there is an emphasis of keeping things in front. The other thing, when you look at this defense, they tackle very well. They do not give up a ton of yak, and that's their superpower on defense. In terms of overall grades, I would give the offense a B minus. I would give the defense a B plus. I would give teams a B plus. That's largely because of those two massive punts late in the game by Waitman, and also again, Mr. Automatic, the best place kicker, Chris Boswell, again, does his thing, hits another 50-yarder, and that's what they do. And looking at this offense, and this is why this game was interesting. You look at the Browns' first downs, they had 20 first downs to the Steelers' 15. That's why it was just one of those games, especially on the offensive side of the ball, it was hard to find a winner. If you want to say Pat Freiermuth was a winner, stepped up, had probably his biggest game statistically of the season in the game, had 3 catches for 48 yards for a touchdown, had a big touchdown catch late in the game. Van Jefferson, if you want to say Van Jefferson was a winner, caught a pass for a touchdown in the red zone. Those are some players I think that stood out in the game as well. Holistically, so again, the grades are B minus for the offense, B plus for the defense, B plus for the teams. Holistically, over the next 3 weeks, the Pittsburgh Steelers play the Philadelphia Eagles, who are 10-3. They play the Baltimore Ravens, who are 8-5, and they play the Kansas City Chiefs. So as of me recording this podcast, is 11-1. You add up all those wins. As I look here, that's 18 plus 11, that's 29-9. That is fantastic. That easily is the hardest stretch of games that anybody is going to play this year. And the winning percentage of those 3 opponents, the combined winning percentage is like 763. Now, if you want to know what the Steelers are, if you want to know if the Steelers have an opportunity to win a championship, you're going to see it. And let me not be remiss to add Bro Joe on the list as well. Please hit me with a like and subscribe, Mr. Keith Richards. And everybody, welcome Keith to the program. Thank you for joining the program, Keith. Broderick Jones, again, no sacks, no penalties. He is growing before our eyes because he might be the most athletic 6'6", 6'5", 320, 325 dude I've ever seen in my life. You want evidence of that? Watch him try to run that guy down last week in the game on the pick six in Cincinnati. I swear he was running a 4.5 40. He's an athletic freak, and he's only getting better. Again, Russ was only sacked once. That's a critical number in the game, and he took that sack on purpose. Yes, Russ has cleaned up the sacks, but in the next 3 weeks, they better have the attitude that they don't care, because we all see what happens when they go to Philly. It is usually rough. It is usually tough out here. It is usually a tough place for them to go to Lincoln Financial, to the Link. They have an outstanding front. We'll break that game more down on Wednesday, but they are going to get their test. True or false? The Steelers will go 2-1 over the next 3 games. 2-1. True or false? Of those 3, I'd be interested to ask you guys, who do you think they're going to beat? Are they going to beat a combination of Philly and Baltimore? Who are they going to beat? Who would be their 2 victories? Who will they lose to? You know, Ollie Howard Species jumped in with his chest puffed out. 3-0, baby. I see you. I think they lose one. I think they lose one. I think of the 3 opponents, and we'll see, injury report, that's tough. I think they lose against Philly. 2-1 seems doable to me as well, Dark Storm. If they go 3-0 over the next 3, I'm picking them to win the Super Bowl. Flat out. If they go 3-0 over the next 3, they will be 13-3. They will be lined up for the 1 seed, and I will pick them to go to the Super Bowl. But I'm convinced this is a good team. I don't like the matchup per se against Philadelphia's front. Philadelphia is very good defensively. Philadelphia might be the best defense in the National Football League. I don't like that matchup per se, and I don't like them going up against Saquon. I don't like that. I don't like the matchup against Philadelphia. But the Ravens and Chiefs, I think those are 2 very winnable games. And I think the Chiefs game is very, very winnable. Let me say that again. Very, very, very winnable. Not impressed by the Chiefs. But their pedigree, you must respect, but I'm not impressed by them. They are a team that is winning by the skin of their teeth, but what they do well is they convert third downs, and their success rate on offense is outstanding. I mean, they just don't have big plays that they generate in their offense, and they're always going to test your protections on defense with Spagnuolo. But KC might drop one tonight because they're in a dogfight against a divisional opponent, and that's why you can't ever take wins for granted. This is a tough game. They're in a tough game against the Chargers. Chargers are in the lead on the road. This is a tough game for them. So when the Steelers cannot play their best football and beat a divisional opponent by 2 scores, double the spread, 6.5 times 2, cover the spread twice, impressive. Very impressive win. Very businesslike. Come, do your work, get it done, holla at your boy, get to 10-3. Again, going up against Baltimore on the road will be tough. But, if they go 2-1, I think we all prefer they beat Baltimore if they go 2-1 over the next 3. What are the two games that would tell you more about this team? If which two victories would tell you more? Would it mean more to you if they beat Philly and Baltimore, lose to Kansas City? Would it mean more to you if they lose to Philly, beat Baltimore, beat Kansas City? To me, I think it would mean more to me. I think it would say more about their team if they beat Baltimore and they beat Kansas City. You beat Baltimore, you wrap up the North. You beat Kansas City, particularly if Kansas City loses against the Chargers. A Kansas City victory says a lot too, because you beat the two-time defending champions. So I think victories over Baltimore and the Chiefs would say more than possibly any other combination of two victories. But with that, we're going to conclude the program. Steelers are rolling 10-3. Get your popcorn ready because the next 3 weeks it's going to be bout it, bout it. We're going to really see what this team is all about. But with that, we're going to conclude the program. And as always, tune in, tell a friend, and subscribe. Happy holidays and go Steelers.